So now you have not driven this car before, have you?
My first time in a Tesla.
First time in a Tesla.
First time in a Tesla.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you get inside, I'll show you a few things and we'll get on the road.
Sounds good.
Well, hey everybody, this is Jason, my friend.
Hi.
And you can check him out on his channel. I'll put a link to it here on the screen. And we're going to drive the Tesla full self-driving for the very first time for you, right?
Right, yeah, for me, yeah.
You've
first
never
time.
driven this before?
I have not.
So I think before we get started, we're going to go through a few things here just for instruction.
All right.
To get the car into drive, we'll just hold down the brake pedal, push down on the stock, and you'll see the letter D up here. Mm-hmm. It'll show you on the screen a couple of things. Right now it's showing you that we're in hold mode, so you can take your foot off the brake and the car will actually stay right here. It won't creep forward.
Oh, all right.
And it is going to start to show you some visualization kind of things on the screen. So we see our car here, and we see all the vehicles around us, including what's parked here in the driveway. And then our route that we selected is just a quick route here to get to our first destination. So this leg of the route will take us on some city streets up to Claremont Avenue, which is a 4-lane road with stoplights, and then we'll continue on to the downtown area from there. To put the car into park, if you want to practice that, just push on the end of the stock here. Okay, now the car is in park. Okay. So that's about it for driving basics. Otherwise, everything else operates just like a car does. There's accelerator instead of a gas pedal, we call it accelerator, and a brake pedal in the car. So. All right. Cool. All right. Well, you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, so here's going to be your first taste of full self-driving. Okay. If you want to go ahead and press down, double tap down on this accelerator stock.
On this guy?
Yep. Or the shifter stock. Yep. All right, so now we're in full self-driving. The way we can tell this is on the screen, we have a little blue circle, blue steering wheel, and the D is blue up there. So that tells us that the car is now driving itself. It's going to follow the course pretty much up here, so it'll see the stop sign. Perfect. Hey, you're doing a great job.
I thought we were going to hit that squirrel. We just about hit a squirrel. All right.
And I didn't even see it on the screen.
Yeah. Oh, I hit the brakes. Which disengaged.
Yep.
Okay, and then we came to a complete stop.
Double tap on it.
Okay, again, right here?
Yep, right here. Now let it take us through this intersection.
All right, so a couple of interesting things. One, I just tapped the brakes, which completely disengages. So I forgot to start steering again. Which is interesting. Oh, this is an interesting decision. Because we can't turn left this way, can we?
We can, but we have to cross traffic. So let's let it take us through. There we go. Perfect. Got the full self-driving engaged. So we're going to come up to the intersection. You'll see on the screen here one thing really quickly. This blue line is the median. So it's going to actually want to try to get there first and then check for traffic coming in from this side. Okay. If you see on the screen, we've got blue vehicles. Those are vehicles that it's projecting to be in our path. Okay. As we do this. So first thing it's going to do is come up to the intersection. There will be a little bit of a creep limit or a hold here, and we'll see that in just a minute now that that car is gone. So the car is going to come up to the intersection. Here's the hold limit, and it's creeping forward to it. And then when it's safe to do so, it'll go right across, and it sees no traffic coming in from the right, so it makes that turn as well. Perfect.
I didn't touch anything. I really wanted to.
It's kind of scary, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a little... Although I know it can accelerate. Yep. But here's the interesting thing about that.
So it's going to have you touch the steering wheel again.
Is I have probably driven this route personally 1,000 times. I would have never taken this left turn, so I would have chosen to come here.
So what it's doing is telling you have to touch the steering wheel. There you go.
So why? What is it? What is it asking for in there?
So it wants to know that you're paying attention to the car driving and you're ready to
And I'm not busy shooting a video and talking, for example. All right.
Yeah. If you keep your hand just kind of positioned near the steering wheel, and
it'll know.
Yeah, when you see that message on the screen, just touch the steering wheel and that message will go away.
Okay. Got it.
So we are coming up on the first leg of our destination. This is the hospital on the right-hand side. So I would expect it's going to make a right lane change here in just a minute. And we've got a car just off to our right. Yep. So it's not going to make the change. If it does try to, it'll make that car red and it'll show that it's obstructed. Okay.
Now you said you can adjust speed with this dial, right?
Correct.
So if you're like, hey, speed limit's 45, but I don't want to quite go on that because I know, again, where there might be congestion, you can adjust that?
So the default on this car is the default that I've set. Did it do that? It did. Here, we'll go ahead and put that on.
All right.
The default is 2 miles an hour over the speed limit. So if it's 45, which it is here, it's going to set it for 47 by default, and then you can adjust it up or down from there. So we're going to go ahead and cancel this right here. So we won't make the change into the hospital, continue straight forward.
Okay.
And we're going to pick a new destination.
So why did it disengage there? Did I do something?
It either saw some kind of traffic, I'll have to go back and look at the video, some kind of hazard, or there's an input that we didn't catch.
Okay.
So we're going to do this, hold this down and say navigate to Pablo Center.
Navigate to Pablo Center.
Okay, so it's going to pull it up here on the screen. And at this point you can double tap down to enable autopilot, full self-driving. So wait till you get a little steering wheel, there we go. Go ahead and do it now. Perfect. One more time.
Making a lot of racket.
Yeah. So what happens is if it's not ready to start full self-driving, it won't have a little steering wheel here.
This guy right here?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Once that's there, it's ready to enable.
So now we're not in full self-driving.
No, you're driving yourself right now. Now it's driving for you.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. So it should close this distance for us.
It should, yep.
Okay. I'm not going to touch it, and I'm going to trust we're not going to run into the back of this car. All right. Okay, I'm just touching. I'm going to try not to grab it. And you said this will change my distance.
Correct, yep.
On the car.
Well, it's not always exact. I find that sometimes I'll set it for like a 7 follow distance and it'll be at a 2 or vice versa. It does take a while for the car to settle into that position that you set it at.
So let me ask you a question. So I'm probably more nervous than you are because you've done this a lot. You've done a lot of videos. You trust it. Does it make you more nervous being in that seat and not here to be able to respond if something happens?
Not at all.
No.
No, and I say that because I know when the car is driving, when it's not driving, kind of what it wants to do. It's going to make a lane change here for you.
Okay.
Now it's wanting you to put your hand on the wheel just a little bit. I find that during these critical phases of driving, it wants that user input a little more.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
So you're not just completely...
Right, so we're just going to give it just a little bit of resistance right there. There we go.
Okay.
Nope, now you disabled it. There you go, perfect.
Will it know that this is a...
It will.
Okay. Okay, so when it's asking for input, it's not just sensory, like just touching it. It wants a little resistance.
It wants a little bit of turning resistance. Okay. So if you just...
Because I've just been touching it, like, so I didn't know if it was just a touch sensor.
Yeah, the technique that I found is actually, the best technique is if you take this hand and hold it down here, and then just kind of grab the wheel as it's trying to turn and give it just a little bit of resistance. Yeah. That way it knows that you're there, you're paying attention to it, and you're not pulling it hard enough to disable the full self-driving. So it is asking again on the screen for you to touch it. So go ahead and give it a little bit of resistance. There you go, perfect.
How did it see that car pull out? It did. That guy, make sure he's watching.
All right, we disabled right there. I think you tapped the brake just a little bit.
I probably did. When you double tap it, do you have to go all the way down? Because there's a couple detents there.
Yeah.
Or just
when you double tap,
double click.
You can actually go down just halfway.
Okay, so I don't have to go past those.
No, it doesn't hurt it to do that, but you can do that.
But it's not necessary. Well, we just passed a cop. I wonder if he knows I'm not touching the controls.
I didn't see any lights. I think you're safe.
I think we're good. We're going the speed limit, so that's good.
Yeah. This is awesome. You're doing an amazing job.
So this is our actual speed, and that's kind of the max we're set to.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And the speed limit's right over here. If you want to go the speed limit, you just touch the speed limit sign, and it would go back to the default, which is 2 over speed limit.
Okay. So speed limit changes here to 25.
It should pick that up. You should see a sign right here.
It didn't see that car.
Nope.
That wasn't.
Good job.
I wasn't comfortable with that.
Yep. Give it a double tap right here. Let it make the turn for you. Good job. That actually, I would have done the exact same thing. If it tried to turn into the turn lane prematurely and there's a car in there.
Yep. Well, and because that car was just making kind of a sudden.
There you go. Go ahead and double tap now. Give it a double tap to start. Perfect. Yep. Good. You're saying that car is making a lane change?
That car was coming into the left turn from their direction, but kind of at the last second.
Right.
So it was.
And so what?
It wasn't an obstruction when this was going to turn in there, It would have been. Yeah.
So what would have happened if we let that play out was our car would have started to go in the turn lane. It would have seen that. Go ahead and touch the wheel just a little bit. There you go. Oh, disabled it. Too
Man,
much.
that's easy.
It is, yeah. We're going to make a right turn here, so that's good.
It's one of my first reactions is to kind of, you know, coming in, because it's braking differently than I would.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And so that's one of the things I'm noticing is I would tend to get on the brakes a little sooner. It's not that this is doing anything that's
Correct.
unsafe. It's just different than I would. So my reaction is to want to
Exactly.
the
Go
brake
ahead and touch
already.
the wheel just a little bit. There you go. Whoops, touched too much. The other thing you could do to let it know that you're paying attention is just adjust the speed up and down 1 mile per hour. So if you do see like a flashing blue or a little message on the bottom, just bring the speed down and bring it back up right away, and it'll know that you're there. All right, so we are coming up to the downtown area. We're going to cross this bridge and make a left right after the bridge. So we have 2 stoplights to work through here.
and pedestrians and crosswalks.
Pedestrians and crosswalks.
I've seen you drive down here on a lot of your videos.
Good. Let's go ahead and do a speed change or touch the wheel to let it know we're there. There you go.
I'm not going to touch the brakes this time. We'll
Good.
let it do its braking.
Yeah, actually bring your feet back to the seat back. There you go.
Ah,
That's going to reduce any temptation you have.
all right.
But be ready to like slide forward and hammer that.
Okay, we're looking okay there.
All right.
No pedestrians.
I know I get a little nervous here too, so you slow it down just a little bit. Just because if somebody were to like
Yep.
pop open a door or something, go ahead and let it run through this. So put it full self on. It's
Yeah.
actually not available. Yeah.
That guy's going to cross right now.
I know. I was going to see what it did in that scenario. That'd be so cool. Let's actually do. Let's see what happens here. Okay. Let's see what happens here.
All right.
Just let it work through this situation.
Because there's a car
So we
coming.
have oncoming traffic.
Well,
There you go. Not too bad. Not too bad. Picked its way through that.
it probably would have done better if I didn't interfere with it.
Now here we have a dumpster, like construction thing out here, so it's going to move over just a little bit, but not enough to get in the way of that car coming on. And right here we're at our destination. So we're going to pick a new destination if you want to drive us right around the corner here. Perfect. Cool.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to go back to our point where we started.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go back here in the history and we can actually see that right here.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's some pedestrians up here at the stop sign. So okay, we've got a steering wheel.
Okay, go ahead and put it in full self-drive.
Whoops. I wasn't sure if those guys were in the street or not.
Perfect. Oops, I think you grabbed the steering wheel too much. It's having you steer right now. Double tap down. There you go. Perfect. It does take probably a good day to get used to, like just the
the
feel of it, the driving.
and it's easy to disengage it. You know, even when it says, "Hey, touch it," it's easy to overdo it.
Mm-hmm. It's the Tesla feel.
Yeah. Well, it's like every car. I mean, even in anytime you drive a new car, you know, the brakes engage slightly differently. The accelerators are slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have a car that's got a manual transmission where the clutch engages, not that many people drive manuals any longer.
No. So it's going to be an interesting test for it. If you want to just touch the wheel or change the speed to let it know you're there. Okay, good. And then we're going to make a left-hand turn here, and it's going to go through some construction areas.
Yep.
So this area I've had a little bit of struggles with in the past.
Okay.
But I think the most recent version of full self-driving that we have, which is FSD Beta 10.69.2.4, has been performing pretty nicely through this. So I don't expect any issues.
All
We have a pedestrian up here on our left or our right side.
Looks like she's going up the hill, so we're right there.
Okay.
No, maybe not.
She's coming. She's gonna go for it.
Now, it should take us through the roundabout at the top. There should be a roundabout on the way.
Yep.
Or a traffic circle, depending on where in the country you're watching.
Do they call them traffic circles?
They do in some places.
Nice.
And out in New Jersey, they have what's called jug handles. So jug handle is how you make a left turn by turning right. It's like a little mini clover leaf to turn left. And when I was in New Jersey, it was the first time I ever experienced one. And the directions I had to a place I'd never been said, take the jug handle. Be like if you're going here, you can't turn left here. You'd have to go through here and whip around to the right and then get back onto the road.
Oh, okay.
So they're in more congested street areas, not just like highways.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, that was a good decision.
Yeah,
I definitely
we would have gone into the concrete on that one. Let's see how it does on this.
Yep. Go ahead and put full self-driving on.
Oh, I thought
double tap down.
Sorry.
There you go. Nice.
Ooh.
I know, a little tense right there.
Yeah. So are we going to hit the fence or are we going to hit the fence?
It saw the fence.
So I saved that one. That wasn't too bad.
That was good.
Because I didn't really want to run into those concrete barricades.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Fortunately, we weren't going very fast. So the recovery wasn't too awful. So this is interesting because we're going to have to deviate left or right. I mean, to turn right. We've got a car kind of behind us. I don't see it on the screen though. Because we're going to turn right up here at this light.
Correct, yeah.
And they're back there a little ways.
It's going to have you interact here just a little bit. Oops, now you're off. There you go. Perfect.
So it doesn't seem to see that car.
It's far enough back it's not picking it up. I mean, if I did like this, it'll see it right there.
So this is interesting. No?
Go ahead and double tap here and put it on. Yep. Double tap and let it go. Try it again. There you go.
So I was nervous that it was going to deviate with that car behind us there.
Yep. So now we're not in full self-driving yet. Get us a little bit away from the curve here. There we go. Perfect.
Would
and double tap down. Need a blue steering wheel. There you go. Perfect. Car did a nice job there. I like it.
I was a little nervous.
So it's a little interesting here because this lane is straight on the left side, but you have to move over to the right side to go straight. So we do have to make a lane change, I think. No, I stand corrected. This is actually combined turn lane and straight through lane.
Yep. But there's actually 3 roundabouts on this route up here.
Yep. Go ahead and give it a interact. There you go. Yep.
Ah, just the right amount of force that
Perfect.
time.
Yep.
Okay, this is interesting. Made that deviation nicely. It does kind of shift over a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The center of the lane kind of shifts right there after that intersection.
So try this. Put your hand down on the wheel, either side, and just kind of pinch it with your thumb and forefinger. Okay. Or index finger. Yep. There you go. And just hold it with a little bit of friction as it's turning. And I think you'll find that it does this a lot less. The need to interact.
Okay, so again, I've seen John's videos, and I've watched some of the traffic circle roundabout excitement. There've been a couple that were exciting, and this one's actually a little tricky. This first one, I drive this route home every day, so this will be interesting. Yeah, because this one can be tricky, and we do have a car coming. We'll see how it does here.
Good spacing. Got in the intersection.
Yep. So that one's all right.
Nice. That actually did really well on that.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
Got one more opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, 2 more.
2 more.
Actually,
that's
there's
right.
one here, and then there's another one down here. So that one's tricky because it's actually dual lanes around the outside.
Exactly.
And so what it did was fine. And this actually, there's no traffic here, so this one's
good. And so that beep that we heard wasn't any error with the the full self-driving is
just telling me to
yep.
give it a little bit of resistance. Now, part of the problem with, I think, with the, roundabouts is that you have other drivers that don't drive them correctly.
Correct.
So even if the car's doing the right thing, sometimes.
And here it could be a situation. Nope, they're going.
No,
That's good.
No, they went.
Just looking for an input here.
There
you go. Oops, you disconnected. There we go.
So is the acceleration, the way that it's, once it figures out where it wants to go, is that something you can set? Because it's pretty snappy. Like once it decides, I've found my route.
Yeah.
It's pretty sporty.
It does. It commits, and it's kind of aggressive. Sometimes more aggressive than I would turn, which gives you a lot of centrifugal force.
Yep.
Yep. There you go. Perfect. There isn't a way to set how aggressive it does, like commit to a turn or go through an intersection that I've found. Sometimes it's either really hesitant or it is really confident.
Okay.
And rarely does it sit right in the middle where I feel like it's very comfortable. All right, so here we're coming up on the destination. So it's not going to know to turn into the address that we set. It'll just stop right on the street. So we'll just have to disengage autopilot when we get there and then turn in the driveway ourselves.
That's something that, aside from the full self-driving, getting used to driving this, that you just touch the brakes. You don't really coast.
No.
So you touch the brakes, you basically come to a stop. So getting back on the accelerator is something I'm not used to having to do.
Good. So your impressions of the drive?
It's a little nerve-wracking at first. We didn't have a lot of traffic to deal with. I was surprised the first, when we went to the hospital, the way it turned on to Claremont is a riskier route than I normally drive, just because, especially in the middle of the afternoon, that can be really, but it did a good job with
the traffic coming in.
With the traffic coming in.
The cross traffic.
With the cross, because you've got a really skinny median out there. But it did that pretty well. And I don't know, there were only a couple times where I felt, there were times I disengaged it accidentally just because I would have tended to want to hit the brakes sooner or steer or something like that. And that was just more, the car wasn't doing anything wrong, and I don't think we were in any trouble. It was just me being uneasy with it. Again, how I would have driven, like been on the brakes a little sooner. There were only a couple of times where I felt like we needed to, the time with the car coming in the left turn lane, that one we needed to disengage it.
Right.
The turning into the construction was another one. So there were a couple of times. That's a little scary
going into that to where the concrete was right there. Yep.
Yeah, those times I think we needed to interfere with that. But otherwise, I think the car was doing the right thing all the time. It was just me not being comfortable with it.
It's totally, and the same thing when I started driving with autopilot and then full self-driving was two things. Wanting to know like exactly how much input to put on the car so it knows I'm paying attention, but knows that but that I don't overcorrect it and disengage autopilot or full self-driving. And then the other thing is just knowing kind of what the car is going to do in different situations, knowing what it does well and some of the things that it's been kind of iffy on, to know when I have to pay more attention and be ready to take over. You did a great job today in the drive.
Thanks.
Really appreciate you doing this. You're a good sport.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you. I have one question for you.
Yeah.
All right, so you've been doing a lot of these videos. You've been testing full self-driving for all the major releases. You go out and you test things out. Is there anything like in this one, when you think back over the changes, something that it's doing now so much better than the early versions?
Yeah, I think it's predicting. So the AI has gotten a lot better, the artificial intelligence and the predictive driving. One thing that full self-driving does, which differs a lot from like a standard autopilot or even just adaptive cruise control in other vehicles, is those are just using sensors and maintaining parameters. This is actually doing predictive work. So it's looking ahead at like, what's the trajectory of the car? What does it think the pedestrian's going to do? And then it's choosing the best course of action of a bunch of options in those situations. So it's actually trying to learn, and it's doing that by providing feedback to the Tesla development team through the driving data that they use to build out better scenarios. So it's actually getting a visualization of what's going on around the car, and it's trying to make decisions based on what's going on, and then it drives from there. So it's actually really cool technology. Yeah, good question.
Cool.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming out
Absolutely.
and driving. And
thanks for letting me. It's really cool. Very interesting to do it.
This is Jason Pecor, and he does have a podcast. It's called On My Drive Home, and I will put a link to that in the description below. So please go ahead and check him out, and we'll maybe do this again someday.
Yeah, great. Thanks, John.